Welcome to Comic Construction. Let's check out the build, art, and story of G.I. Joe Volume 1, The Cobra Strikes, written by Joshua Williamson, with art by Tom Riley and colors by Jordi Belair, published by Image Skybound. This is a standard size softcover at 6 5/8 by 10 3/16 inches and has 136 pages. The only unusual element on the cover is the use of a spot varnish on the G.I. Joe and Energon Universe logos, as well as on the volume number and title at the bottom. That does wrap around on the spine, meaning that little box with the 1 is also in the covered by the varnish. And then on the back, the Energon Universe logo and all of the text boxes have the spot varnish, which is an interesting choice. Usually you would see the illustrations have the spot varnish to make them stand out more, but for some reason they decided to go with the text instead. The book is perfect bound, as you would expect from a trade paperback. And the interior sheet is a nice semi-gloss, which is not too thin. It's pretty nice for a paperback page. Tom Riley's line art and inking are amazing. The work is fantastic in both vehicle and figure illustration. I'm always impressed when artists can do both mechanical and human figures well, and Riley does both beautifully. There are similarities to Wes Craig's work in Deadly Class in the emotional acting department, which I consider very high praise. So if you look, some of these expressions, you can see exactly what's going on just by a glance. And they're, of course, amped up, but also they communicate super clearly exactly what that character's feeling in the moment. That's next level artistry, in my opinion. But the line work isn't the only component of the art. Jordi Belair's colors work perfectly to accentuate Riley's illustrations. Flashbacks are rendered in muted tones and appear out of focus, clearly demarcating these scenes from the current time in a brilliant and beautiful manner. Just the artwork, the color work throughout is just so fascinating. Every color is chosen so meticulously, I guess. I don't even know how to describe some of the work that's being done here by Belair. But this is this page is a perfect example. Everything on the Joe side is kind of cool toned, right? So you get the blue background. Even if you look at the colors on Duke's pants or his shirt, they're a little more gray, a little more muted. But then on the Destro side of things, the red is really super focal, really creating a hot sort of feel to it. This is this is really next level color storytelling. Here are the Joes. They're protecting this artifact. So the backgrounds are generally pretty on the cool side of things. You get some blues and the greens. You got a little bit of purple, so that's bringing a little bit of warmth into it. But as soon as Cobra launches their cyber attack, everything goes red. Even Duke down here is just in red all of a sudden. Just letting you know, Cobra's here, things are, getting hot. Things are getting intense. It's just really amazing color storytelling. If you recall, I said a while back I was done with the Energon Universe, but I recently started listening to Audible Interlude, a G.I. Joe podcast, and their comic talk convinced me to give the main book a shot. And I'm really glad that I did. I'm pretty mixed on the miniseries that preceded the launch of the main G.I. Joe title. Scarlet was fantastic, easily the best of the bunch. Duke was really good, especially considering that I generally don't like that character, unless it's the Duke from G.I. Joe Renegades. The Destro series was pretty good. It was very interesting and enjoyable. The Cobra Commander series was the weakest, largely because I don't like all of that Cobra Law nonsense. And I've not read much from Joshua Williamson, so I approached this with a fairly open mind. Now, unlike the classic Larry Hama series, this volume opens less with an adventure, opting to lean more into the military/war element. So we first see the team on a training mission with flashbacks explaining each character to the reader. They're then sent out on their first mission to protect the Cybertronian artifact. Cobra attacks and routs the Joes in spectacular fashion, with several Joe members possibly dying. I don't want to spoil any of that here. There's a lot of carnage, but also a lot of character story. And in the aftermath of the battle, we are introduced to Risk, a former CIA agent who's also a cage fighter. He's very much a John Wick or James Bond type character, and he rubs Duke the wrong way instantly. So that's the basic setup. if you like books with political intrigue and like a lot of action and just sort of interesting character dynamics, and I don't even know how to explain it. Just there's lots of excitement in this book. Then you should check this out. I think you'd really like this volume. My connection with G.I. Joe has always been the characters. Rock and Roll and Stalker are basically the same characters they've always been. Clutch is very similar to the classic version, but he's less of a like soldier in a sense. He's more of a driver. He's easily my favorite character in this new version. And to be honest, I've always had a soft spot for Clutch going back to issue 35 in the classic series. That road trip with Breaker and Rock and Roll really cemented him as one of my favorites. And then when Grunt leaves the team to go back to college, and Clutch is the only Joe that shows up to wish him well and see him off. I don't know why I combined those two things. Just made me think like, oh, this dude's like a really good guy. And that kind of let my brain ignore the fact that he harassed Scarlet a lot early on. And then Cobra Commander is especially terrifying in these issues. There's a lot happening in this book, and it has to be read to be believed. I honestly think this book hits as hard as IDW's Cobra series that vaulted Chuckles to fan favorite status did. It's definitely worth the read. As I recently posted, I'm in a curation phase regarding books. So the question is, does this book stay or does it go? I plan to let the trade paperbacks go to clear room for the deluxe edition that comes out in June. I like this enough that I want the best version possible, and I definitely see myself rereading this. Thanks for checking out this video. If you enjoyed it, like, subscribe, and share with a friend.